Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Anthropology, relatedness or connection by blood or marriage or adoption. A relation between people. Relationship is often used where relation would serve, as in, the relationship between inflation and unemployment, but the preferred usage of relationship is for human relations or states of relatedness. The relationship between mothers and their children. A state involving mutual dealings between people or parties or countries. A state of connectedness between people, especially an emotional connection. He didn't want his wife to know of the relationship. Anthropology, relatedness or connection by blood or marriage or adoption. Anthropology, relatedness or connection by blood or marriage or adoption. A close connection marked by community of interests or similarity in nature or character. Felt a deep kinship with the other students. A relation between people. Relationship is often used where relation would serve, as in, the relationship between inflation and unemployment, but the preferred usage of relationship is for human relations or states of relatedness. Law. The principle that an act done at a later time is deemed by law to have occurred at an earlier time. His attorney argued for the relation back of the amended complaint to the time the initial complaint was filed. Sexual activity between individuals, especially the insertion of a man's penis into a woman's vagina until orgasm and ejaculation occur. A person related by blood or marriage. He has distant relations back in New Jersey. An act of narration. He was the hero according to his own relation. An abstraction belonging to or characteristic of two entities or parts together. Usually plural, mutual dealings or connections among persons or groups. International relations. Indicate through a symbol, formula, etc. The territory occupied by a nation. A politically organized body of people under a single government. The state has elected a new president. Chemistry. The three traditional states of matter are solids, fixed shape and volume, and liquids, fixed volume and shaped by the container, and gases, filling the container. The solid state of water is called ice. The territory occupied by one of the constituent administrative districts of a nation. His state is in the Deep South. Put before. The federal department in the United States that sets and maintains foreign policies. Express in words. State your opinion. A state of depression or agitation. He was in such a state you just couldn't reason with him. The group of people comprising the government of a sovereign state. The state has lowered its income tax. The way something is with respect to its main attributes. The current state of knowledge. The process of giving birth. The event of being born. They celebrated the birth of their first child. The kinship relation of an offspring to the parents. Cause to be born. A baby born, an offspring. The overall rate of incidence of Down syndrome is 1 in every 800 births. The time when something begins, especially life. They divorced after the birth of the child. The force attracting atoms to each other and binding them together in a molecule. Basic dyes have an affinity for wool and silk. A close connection marked by community of interests or similarity in nature or character. Found a natural affinity with the immigrants. Biology. State of relationship between organisms or groups of organisms resulting in resemblance in structure or structural parts. In anatomical structure, prehistoric man shows close affinity with modern humans. A natural attraction or feeling of kinship. An affinity for politics. Anthropology. Kinship by marriage or adoption, not a blood relationship. Immunology. The attraction between an antigen and an antibody. Inherent resemblance between persons or things. Anthropology. Related by blood. An organization of employees formed to bargain with the employer. People engaged in a particular occupation. The feeling that men should treat one another like brothers. The kinship relation between a male offspring and the siblings. Anthropology. Related by blood. Line of descent traced through the maternal side of the family. Anthropology. Related by blood. A downward slope or bend. The descendants of one individual. The kinship relation between an individual and the individual's progenitors. Properties attributable to your ancestry. A movement downward. The act of changing your location in a downward direction. God when considered as the first person in the Trinity. The kinship relation between an offspring and the father. The status of a father. The status of a religious leader. Inherited properties shared with others of your bloodline. The kinship relation between an individual and the individual's progenitors. The descendants of one individual. The kinship relation between an individual and the individual's progenitors. The number of lines in a piece of printed material. Inherited properties shared with others of your bloodline. The descendants of one individual. His entire lineage has been warriors. A rate of payment for written material that is measured according to the number of lines submitted. The kinship relation between an individual and the individual's progenitors. The relationship between wife and husband. The relationship between wife and husband. The state of being pregnant. The period from conception to birth when a woman carries a developing fetus in her uterus. The kinship relation between an offspring and the mother. The quality of having or showing the tenderness and warmth and affection of or befitting a mother. The kinship relation between an offspring and the mother. The state of being a parent. The kinship relation of an offspring to the parents. The descendants of one individual. The act of initiating a new idea or theory or writing. The kinship relation between an offspring and the father. The state of being a father. Tests were conducted to determine paternity. Biology. State of relationship between organisms or groups of organisms resulting in resemblance in structure or structural parts. An association or society of women who are linked together by a common religion or trade or interest. The kinship relation between a female offspring and the siblings. A religious society of women who live together as sisters, especially an order of nuns. An association or society of women who are linked together by a common religion or trade or interest. The kinship relation between a female offspring and the siblings. A relation between persons. A contract between two or more persons who agree to pool talent and money and share profits or losses. A cooperative relationship between people or groups who agree to share responsibility for achieving some specific goal. Effective language learning is a partnership between school, teacher, and student. The members of a business venture created by contract. A relation between persons. A social or business relationship. He was sorry he had to sever his ties with other members of the team. A fastener that serves to join or connect. Finish a game with an equal number of points, goals, etc. The teams drew a tie. Create social or emotional ties. One of the cross braces that support the rails on a railway track. The British call a railroad tie a sleeper. A horizontal beam used to prevent two other structural members from spreading apart or separating. He nailed the rafters together with a tie beam. Fasten or secure with a rope, string, or cord. They tied their victim to the chair. The finish of a contest in which the score is tied and the winner is undecided. Their record was 3 wins, 6 losses and a tie. Connect, fasten, or put together 2 or more pieces. Neckwear consisting of a long narrow piece of material worn, mostly by men, under a collar and tied in knot at the front. He stood in front of the mirror tightening his necktie. Perform a marriage ceremony. A cord, or string or ribbon or wire etc., with which something is tied. He needed a tie for the packages. Equality of score in a contest. Form a knot or bow in. Tie a necktie. Limit or restrict to. I am tied to eunuchs. Make by tying pieces together. The fishermen tied their flies. Music, a slur over 2 notes of the same pitch, indicates that the note is to be sustained for their combined time value. Unite musical notes by a tie. A relationship less intimate than friendship.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.